Well, that's not what I expected. This is Corey, and this is the O The Anthem podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob. Welcome to episode 286 of the O The Anthem podcast, coming to you from the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for listening on your podcatcher of choice. The easiest way to find us is anchor.fm/O The Anthem. You can find links to all the different services. Whichever one you listen to podcasts on, you can find it there. Make it easy for everybody.
Yeah, and of course you can find more O The Anthem at O The Anthem on Twitter and Instagram. A new feature on Instagram, we have a link tree now where you can actually find links to everything. It's super easy. So if you go to instagram.com/O The Anthem or search for O The Anthem on the app, go to our profile. When you hear link in bio, that's what we say. That's what the kids are saying these days. Go to the link in bio, and you can actually find an easy way to find links to Anchor, to Twitter, to Facebook, right where you're watching this right now, facebook.com/O The Anthem. You can find links to the YouTube page, youtube.com/O The Anthem. You can find links to the website, otheanthem.com. And, of course, there you can find everything, including the merchandise page, which you guys are neglecting a little bit, I have to say. I think everybody's sleeping on the merchandise page.
Yeah, there's good things on there, and more to come. We're cooking up some schemes. Talking about cooking up some schemes.
Yes.
There is a couple things we've been turning over on our heads, and one thing that is going live. Where should we start?
Well, I mean, I think that there's a lot of things. I mean, we've been talking for weeks about a lot of things that are happening. Yeah. I mean, in our lives personally, we have a lot of things going on. Oh, wait, nope, that's not it. Wait, hang on. Hit the wrong button there. So we're trying a new thing where we have a control board. Corey's got his control board, which you guys can't see. That's for audio. I'm in charge of the video board. Much less impressive. But
so your buttons do go to additional things.
Yeah, mine are like menu, sub-menu buttons, so it goes to a little bit more. So we're trying to get off of the keypad on the keyboard and see how that works out. But nonetheless, where was I going with that? We have a lot of things
New
cooking
things,
up. Yeah. So we're trying to.
Well, let's start with this.
Well, how about this? Well, this is what I was saying. We have a lot of personal things we've talked about.
There is a rat in your unit that is a fact.
Still going on. Absolutely, yes. But we have some professional things, some work things going on as well.
Yes.
I mean, I do think that cut actually applies for, part of the professional projects as well. Because rats are around stinky things. And if you guys have been checking out the movie reviews that Corey's been doing, well, there's nothing stinkier than that. That's just pretentious bullshit.
It's not pretentious bullshit. It's the view of somebody who's inside the industry who makes movies into the thoughts on the movies. So it's a critique of it on an artistic level.
You guys can't see, but below the desk, Corey actually grabbed his cup that he was about to take a drink from with the pinky up. Yeah. But he controlled himself and he kept it below the table.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But yes, it is.
My monocle would have flown off, but it's happened so many times today. It's an
insider.
I gave up on wearing the monocle.
It's an insider's view. It's an entertainment insider's view. Now,
I mean, like I feel like I try and explain to the audience, like, hey, you will like this or you will not. But Rob has problems with the fact that I rate things.
Yeah, not just
and that rating. Every once in a while, I rate something lower than he would have rated it, and now he has to do his own movie reviews to spite me.
He's got the Phantom Thread rated at like 9.9, and then he's got It Chapter 2 at 5.6, and I'm like, wait a second now. Molly's Game 9.7, nearly a perfect movie.
No.
The only thing that was lacking certainly wasn't the director or the writing. It was just everything else. As he fillets Aaron Sorkin.
That was not the case.
He's going in to look. He's going to look at his ratings.
Well, because I can't let this just go on, because none of those. No movie has gotten up to like a 9.7 yet.
We didn't start it. Molly's Game was out of the time, and so was
Molly's Game was like one of the first reviews.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
Oh, wow! I didn't realize it went back that far.
8.2. 8.2 was Molly's Game. Phantom Thread was 8.7. Oh shit!
The highest rating, though, right? Like
no. Once Upon a Time is the highest.
Okay.
Right now.
Again, pretentious artwork.
9.3, and It Chapter 2 got a 6.9, which is like a C. It's like a C on a curve. That's a good There's nothing to sneeze at there.
So anyway, this Thursday or last Thursday, I took advantage of a new promotional tool on YouTube called Premiere, where I got to watch the video. The video went live at 7 p.m. Thursday, and I watched it for the first time with some people who were live watching it. I probably didn't do myself any favors. I hadn't used Premiere before, and I wasn't sure how it was going to work, so I actually did a Facebook Live at the same time, and I was chatting with people in the Facebook Live. And then I saw that there were people watching the video, and I was like, oh, you know what? Probably people watching on YouTube, chatting with me on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
And the algorithm would have been much better served by
chatting on
with them.
YouTube.
Yes. Yeah, and boosting it up a little bit. But, you missed the video aspect of seeing my face in two different places at once. And really, isn't that
how do you avoid
what you want?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. So this Thursday, we're going to go live with episode 1. That was episode 0. It was the introduction, the explanation of what this thing is. Episode 1 will be live on Thursday. It chapter 2. Spoiler alert, I did not give it a C. But make sure you check out the intro episode first. It'll let you know how they're going to work, what's the setup for this entire thing. And then we'll have weekly episodes. And I have an entire back catalog. I refer to it as CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com. And I'll go back through some movies and some of the better ones. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's on my list to do just because it was this summer and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I do think that there will be more alignment in that episode than there is disagreement. But there will be others that I certainly disagree with. I also saw Downton Abbey this week, which I don't think you will see.
I haven't seen the series, so
do not see the movie. It will make no sense to you.
Okay.
It literally picks up 6 months after the last episode, and the first 10 minutes are conversations you will not understand.
Yeah, because I didn't imagine it would take the same track as the Sex and the City movie, where the first minute and a half of it is of course Miranda was there. Miranda married Steve, had a son, moved to Queens. It explained the what gets you here, and it's just you didn't have to have seen the series necessarily to understand the story you were watching. They did basically the theme song, but a longer version with this is Samantha. She's man hungry.
This was camera up on Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
Cut to interior kitchen, staff doing what they've done every day for the last 9 years. And
I was saying, put it on your camera for a second.
Oh, so we also have to stop mixing signals so much. You know what we forgot to do? There's a lot of things. Anyway, so it's camera up on Downton Abbey and then kitchen staff. And the kitchen staff is doing what they normally do, having the conversations that they had. Now, for me, it's been less time because I just binged the entire series earlier this year in preparation for the movie. But I would not have understood anything about what was happening in that first few minutes. And until you get into the actual storyline of the movie itself, it would be kind of difficult. That would be my judging of everything that was going on. You have to know the characters. You have to know what they're talking about. And then eventually, if anybody, I don't think it's spoiling anything. It's in the trailers. So it's not spoiling anything to say that the king is coming for a visit to Downton Abbey. And once you do that, then I think you might enjoy it after that because you're like, oh, I get it. It's Queen Elizabeth's grandfather.
Okay.
Coming for a visit. No, great-grandfather coming for a visit to Downton Abbey. Mm-hmm. And there's a storyline that you would enjoy. But literally, the B, C, D, E, and F storylines, and there are that many.
Yeah.
Because Downton Abbey is basically a soap opera for British people who are too pretentious to say we like soap operas.
So it's like a Corey Baker filmmaker soap opera of sorts?
So much so. But all of those sub storylines, you would have no idea what was going on.
Right.
You'd be like, why are these two old people bitching at each other, but they're friends? I don't understand. It's you have to understand.
They must be British.
Yeah, there's a whole backstory to the history between these two. Let me give you a 40-minute refresher about this. But it's 9 seasons.
Yeah.
Or 9 years of seasons. I don't know if it was 9, but it was a lot. And it was a lot to go through. So I would just say, listen, if it didn't interest you enough to watch the show,
generally speaking, I don't like old English.
Well, I mean, it's 1920s English.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the mind-blowing part. It's Queen Elizabeth's great-grandfather, and I was trying to do the math about King's Speech and the Crown and and this Downton Abbey, they all happen within 20 years, 30 years of each other, because The Crown is basically after World War II. And I'm trying to do the math, and I'm like, there are 5 generations in between these people.
Yeah.
But so like the king is there, the king has a daughter, and I'm like, oh, those 2 kids must be Elizabeth and her sister. Mm-hmm. But then I'm like, nah, that can't be. That's got to be the son who abdicates the throne and Elizabeth's father.
Yeah.
And then Elizabeth's father dies and she becomes queen. But I'm like, that means that a monarch died like every 7 years between 1930.
Inbreeding will do that to you.
Well, I mean, that's also true. But between 1930 and 1950, a monarch died every 7 years in England, which is ridiculous. And then Elizabeth gets in there and says, my children are garbage, and I am not giving the throne to anyone. I'm going to outlive my son, and once he's gone, my grandson can have the seat. So anyway, we've gone off on the road a little bit.
We've gone off on a
the projects are
monarchy.
I'm very excited about the movie review project. It's one of several things we have going. I will apologize in advance.
If every single week you just take a shot at me and my review.
I don't apologize for that. That will be happening, at least for the first few weeks. The sound on the first few episodes is not great.
Yeah. You can tell Corey wasn't there.
Yes, yeah. But we use a very unique sound routing system to get this out to you live on the internet. And I did not know how to unwind that system and record audio, so the sound itself is not fantastic. But it will improve as we go. I'm thinking about getting myself a boom mic. There's somebody in the other room who has a very nice boom mic, so I think I'm going to use that as an example, although I don't need one for, like work. So maybe not. Well, we'll see. I'm going to get something to get better audio going, and I think once that happens, it'll be... that's the only flaw. Opinions, fantastic. Video, amazing. Once the sound is up there, it's going to be the trifecta.
It'll be a triple threat.
Yep.
By the way, comment in the room, looking handsome in that shirt. Completely random person who has no ties to me. Thank you very much. I appreciate
you missed one word in that in that comment. Looking handsome in that shirt, babe. Seems like a pet name. Are you sure you don't know that person?
I mean, it just seems like whoever this random person who said that is a very she probably just uses that like a waitress at a diner who's just like, "What do you have, sugar?"
Oh, okay. Sure, absolutely. I will believe that.
Like there was an actress I worked with on a set recently, and she sort of had that thing where like she's not like flirting with you, but she like throws out the like I'll see you later, handsome.
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing. And I don't take it as like she's putting a pass on me. I think of it more as like she just says that to everyone. Like I could be Quasimodo, like putting her mic on and she's just like, "Thanks, handsome."
Well, luckily Roberto wasn't with you because he would have, fallen over himself to flirt with her. Because every person in the service industry.
This barista just called me honey.
I better get her number. You're not even single. It doesn't matter. It's disrespectful if you don't return it. Anyway, so amongst the other things we have going on, obviously, Corey, you know a lot about Corey's projects. I got a lot of stuff going on. We are discussing the possibility of doing a new joint audio project.
Yeah. So, Time Hop recently reminded us that when the election of 2016 was happening, this podcast became largely politics discussions. There was obviously little stories interspersed here and there, but the politics of the situation seemed to get way out of hand with the rest of the stuff.
And the last few weeks of us, we do a shared list of topics, and as we creep closer to fall, it seems to be taking on ever larger portions of that list. So, and we have to actively be like, okay, so we're going to skip these 3 stories so that we can get to something other than politics.
Right. So, we've had a bit of a thing with the audience of the show in the past where a lot of people like our politics talk and a lot of people really don't like our politics talk.
Yes. Yeah.
And the sort of like, how do we appease both sides of the coin here, where like everyone could listen to the show and not have to worry about like some politics getting involved and ruining your good fun, but the people who want to hear the politics talk have a place to go and hear us go on it.
Yeah.
So we're playing around with the idea of launching a new podcast, which will sort of be the politics side of the O The Anthem podcast, like how how we usually do it, but sort of just like sectioning off the politics stuff to another podcast.
Yeah.
Where
Now
we could also get a little bit more wonky and like.
Yeah, I was going to say, it'll be a deeper dive for those of you who enjoy the political talk. I think that we do also make an effort, even though it may seem that way, to keep it superficial when we're talking politics. Like, let's just talk about the biggest news of the week. And especially when you're talking about an election, there's a lot you can dive into that we would both understand and want to do. We just don't, because it's a little too much for the average person. So we'd be able to do that, and then we'd also have more time to talk about other stuff that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
Entertainment news, what's going on in our lives, all of those things. And for those of you who say, oh, my God, I don't have time for 3 hours of O The Anthem every week. Well, neither do we. Honestly, we don't want to record 3 hours. But I think the reason that the podcast goes so long is that we try to jam everything into a single show.
Yeah.
And if we would just said, hey, we're going to set 45 minutes aside for this and then 45 minutes aside for that, and we are cutting it, we have to because it's two different shows, that you'll get the same hour 20, hour and a half just split into two different things. And if you don't like the politics,
then you can listen to the fun and games on the other side.
And if you really do, then, and maybe you don't like everything else and you only like the politics, well, good. Don't listen to the main show, and you just listen to the side show. Or both or a combination thereof. It's there's a lot of options for you there.
But we figured, like we're a little over a year out from the election, so now would be a good time to sort of split these things, I think, because obviously it's just a lot. So we're welcoming ideas. Anybody has any thoughts on how they'd like to do how they'd like to get this content? Let us know.
Yeah.
At any social network there. And I mean, like it's just sort of being thrown around at this point. So
yes,
we're in the brainstorming phase. But let us know.
Absolutely. So I think that would take us into our normal topics. Now we get to have a normal show and move on with things, and that means that it is time for Sports Ball.
So the Ravens played a football game today.
I mean, they were on a field.
Yeah.
There was football played.
They played. Here's the thing. I feel like this week every year sneaks up on us in a football fan, a gambling sense, where you say, "There's no way the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to go into LA and beat the Rams at the Coliseum."
Yeah, it's not going to be a 100-point affair in any event.
Yeah, perhaps the Rams, beat them 37-10 or something like that, and all order is restored to the universe. But around this week, every single year, I feel like there's a couple notable losses of people we didn't think were good, beating people who we thought were good, or teams that were really close, like maybe a closer game than we imagined and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wasn't sleeping on the Browns at all. I thought that all this talk about them being disappointing and falling under was only going to make them come out harder in this game, and especially a division game where they could now they are the division leaders.
Yeah.
By proxy of the fact that we have a tie in record, but they have more division wins because
they beat us.
So far it's 1-0 versus 0-1.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I'm not really worried about it for the long term. I feel like there was some horrible coaching decisions today. I don't understand how you don't throw the. It's hard to tell when the audio is not on where you are in like challenge flags and stuff like that.
Right. And now we were watching at the bar, and the audio sometimes is for the game, but for us we didn't get the audio today. Mm-hmm. The Raiders fans got the audio, so we were watching without sound.
Yeah. So perhaps they said it and I didn't know, but it seems like the incomplete pass, or it turned into interception. It was the interception. Yeah,
the interception in the end zone.
With 4 something left in the game, and we were down by 2 touchdowns at that point.
Yeah. The pass to Andrews.
Yeah, would have been a wonderful opportunity to challenge the pass interference because the other guy was tackling Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
Prior to him getting any hands on the ball. I don't know what the calculus was there. Maybe he challenged something dumber earlier in the game and I missed it at some point.
Yeah.
Not entirely sure.
But I think the math came down to exactly what you said, which is they had one timeout.
Yeah.
And he was thinking, oh, well, we got to save
They had
that timeout.
They had 2. I think they were worried if we don't make this, then we only have 1, and then we can't, like, we will be left with only, 3 minutes left in clock.
Yeah.
To be able to make our comeback kind of thing. And
But
it's like,
it made it much less
I just feel like it would have been easier to score from the 1 yard line and, like kick off the ball normally, stop them, and then be able to score. Like if you use that logic for how you were going to progress forward, then that would have been, I don't know. Again, I did not have like the challenges like right in front of me and stuff like that, so I don't know. But
it seems like the second or third consecutive week that we've come out of the game saying something about this.
Yeah.
About coaching decisions that just don't seem logical. So
I will say this. I can see the Moneyball aspect of football showing itself in the Ravens so far this season. The propensity to go for 2 and some of the decisions that they make. I see it a lot in the running game too, where just the movement seems a lot more analytical than it does like a coach like drawing in the dirt, like, and then you move across this way, like it's all timed within an inch of its life and everything like that. And I think that it's just a matter of trying to, I feel like we have a lot of pieces. We just don't know how they all work together yet.
Yeah.
And especially the defense with injuries and like, Mosley being gone and Zardarius Smith being gone, and just like trying to figure out how to make this unit work to its best efficiencies. Sometimes, like when you get a new person at work, if you're a manager and you get a new person at work, sometimes the hardest part is for the first 3 weeks, I want to throw you around in different places and see where you succeed.
Yeah.
And you might not be good at, the cash register or something like that. But, like, I find this out by putting you on the cash register. Like, I think the Ravens are doing this thing where they're like trying to figure out who's going to be the rushing down back. I mean, like who's going to be the pass rush specialist, who's going to be the Mike linebacker on blitzes and stuff like that. It's hard to figure out exactly what this team is yet, but I feel like it's a work in progress that will get there eventually.
Well, I want to take 2 seconds step aside and say hello to Motaz, who's watching us from Alaska. Thanks for joining us, Motaz. And Terry, all the way from Maryland, with another compliment. You guys are looking good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Terry. Appreciate that. But when you're going to the Moneyball aspects of everything, my mind immediately goes to the fact that Matt Gay, who is the kicker for Tampa Bay, has an insane problem kicking field goals from PAT length.
Yeah.
And if
he can hit it from 58, no problem, but
he keeps going wide right from the PAT distance, and it's just like, wait, so if I put you at the 60-yard line to start a kick, you have like a 95%.
See, but that didn't work either, because last week they took a pass interference, or took a what do you call it? Delay a game.
Yeah.
To move back an extra 5 yards and get him into his comfort zone, and he missed that kick.
Yeah.
So
the math doesn't really work. But my point was that
sometimes I feel like kickers just need to like. I like it if the idea is like, oh, I'm better from the left than the right. So if you can get me to the left, I would appreciate it. Well, but I'll kick from anywhere on the field. I don't care. I'm just happy to be here.
My point is, though, you have Justin Tucker. You have Justin Tucker, the most automatic kicker in the NFL today. And you're going for 2 in situations that it just does not make sense to me.
I think this is part of like a process, like when the Oakland A's became like the Moneyball team in baseball and first introduced us to the idea of like sort of like a statistical revolution in the way that the game could be played. It was kind of touch and go there for a while when the team was first getting together under these auspices, because it was very tough to understand how this was going to work. Like you were telling people to play in different positions they've never played before based off of information, or like, they were going to do shifts that have never been seen before based off of like hit probability average and stuff like that. And all of these things didn't, like, it seemed foreign and weird and different in a way that it didn't immediately show itself in results on the field.
And they weren't winning every game.
Right.
They were winning +1 game over 5 or 6 or 7 games.
Yeah.
And that averages out to a lot over the course of a season. but not a lot in a week. So it's something you have to worry about. And I mean, maybe, but the problem is we have 16 games in an NFL season, and some of those decisions seem to have put us in a bad place to win the game, especially the last 2 weeks. So, yeah, I have been a support Harbaugh and let him do what he thinks is best guy for a while. I just don't know how long that faith lasts. I think that's where I'm at.
I think there's a benefit to having a steady hand at the helm, and like they were honoring Billick today at the stadium.
Yeah,
like that's another. Like we've gone from Billick to Harbaugh, and those have been our coaches for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, like the Browns have had 20 coaches in those 20 years.
Probably so. Yeah.
So I mean, like,
well, they didn't have a team for a couple of those years.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, I guess if there's anything, I feel happy for Brown fans in a way that they feel like this is probably one of their key victories of all time because they beat us at home, and so, I don't know. So whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know if Harbaugh should be fired. I feel like he's fine. He knows what he's doing, and he's like he's proven himself to like work his way out of trouble before.
Yeah.
I think that it's hard to explain to somebody how this might be a more difficult task of putting together this team than it seems like.
Yeah. And
I think there's also an aspect of we don't want to give up all the goods right now, I still feel like there's probably a version of this offense that happens in practice where it's like this is the 3-minute offense where we have to score 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
How do we do it? Like,
well, that was today. So
I know, but I'm saying like
well.
it didn't work today, but I'm saying like I feel like there's plans this team only feels like it can get better. That's my point, I guess. Like,
and I sit there and say,
like, Miles Boykin doesn't get any kind of action. Today he gets a little bit of action. He looks really good. Maybe there will be, when Miles Boykin becomes more of an asset to the team, the offense will improve with it.
Do you want us to be sitting in week 14 out of the playoffs and then have him start dropping these like amazing things that we didn't know we were going to see? Like, let's just use the tools that we have and not wait. Like last night we were playing a new game. All the friends were here. We were playing a new game, and Corey is a huge fan. There's a card to play called the double down card, and if you miss it, or if you don't get the point, you lose it for the whole game. Now you could use it as many times as you want, every single hand.
Yeah,
but if the first time you miss, you're done. And I didn't use it once during the entire game. And I think that is the difference between us, is that you are the like, yep, you got to use it, which is weird for me to now hear you saying that like, oh, well, maybe we should just keep some things in reserve. Maybe that's the way to play this thing. So
no, I because this Ravens offense is a lot more aggressive than it has been in the past. We go for it a lot more. Like on 4th down, we go for it a lot more.
Right.
2-point conversions, we go for it a lot more. Sort of like anything being possible on any down is happening a lot more with this team. It doesn't matter if it's 3rd and 8. We'll run the ball because we have confidence that we might actually be able to pick up those 8 yards.
Not since the days of Ray Rice have we been doing that.
But I don't know. It's weird laugh too.
Do you remember the 3rd and 38 that he picked up?
3rd and 27.
3rd and 27. Yes. 3rd and 27 he picked up. Just.
You mean, hey, diddle diddle Ray Rice up the middle?
There we go. All right, yeah.
A play went well when they make T-shirts about it. I don't know. It's just a very aggressive team that I feel like it's kind of like a. Have you seen a play in its like first week?
Yeah,
like a professional play, not like a school play.
They are still working out the kinks. So
yeah, and
we've only done this 8 times, so
right. And there's a difference between doing it on the practice field and doing it live.
Yeah,
and I think I just for whatever reason it just feels like things aren't quite clicking.
Yeah.
I felt this during the Chiefs game too, because like even though we were down huge at halftime, it just felt like everything was just like, oh, he just missed that throw by this much.
Yeah.
If we get the timing a little bit better, that would have been a huge play. Next time we'll get that time. It just felt a little bit off. That's all. And again, I have hope for the future. I feel like there's no petition to fire Harbaugh this second.
No, I don't think anybody's thinking that. But Question from the chat. And remember, you can join us. We record live at facebook.com/O The Anthem. Join us in the chat, ask questions, make comments. We'd like to interact with you guys. But Terry asked, how do you guys feel about Lamar?
Well, I think that Lamar is a MVP level caliber quarterback at the end of the day. It's again a thing of like, can it all be put together? I feel like there's a lot of parts of Lamar's game where it's just like he doesn't quite have the reps. Like if you hear like a quarterback who's been around for a long time, like Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, they'll talk about how the game finally feels more automatic to them.
Yeah.
Because they've seen everything. They know how, like defenses move, and they have a different vision of the field because they've done it so many times. And that happens all over the place. Any job, the first week on the job is going to be way worse than your last week on the job because you've had more time devoted to how you have to go through the processes. But the one thing that I think is amazing about Lamar and everyone sleeps on is that there was a point in the game today where there were two defensive players like just coming in on Lamar ready to tackle him for a 7-yard loss. He avoided both of them, avoided the guy in front of him, was able to go all the way around and get a first down. So the option was either first down with Lamar running it or a 7-yard loss if it was like Flacco, for instance, who wouldn't be able to avoid the initial contact.
Yeah.
So it's making all the noise.
Yeah.
It's that sort of thing where you can turn sure sacks into first downs is an unbelievable asset to have with Lamar's legs.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think that there is a time when that will become a bigger deal as we move forward. I still have questions. I want to believe, but I have the hints of RG3. Mm-hmm. Do you have that feeling at all? Like a little concern about RG, like the same concern that I had about RG3 in Washington, I have about Lamar now.
No. And the only reason why I don't is because RG3 seemed more reckless about it.
Okay.
Like RG3 was like, I'm just going to run until somebody physically tackles me to the ground.
That's true. Yeah.
Lamar looks for the sidelines a lot. Lamar puts himself in positions where he's never really tackled like viciously.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of the like, oh, let's take this little stutter step to get somebody to miss me.
That was really funny.
Maybe they get a little bit of my jersey and I fall. But it's not the same as like having a helmet-to-helmet impact like in the middle of the field while you're rushing for that extra couple yards. He doesn't slide, but I don't think he needs to because I think he's doing a good enough job of keeping himself out of the jackpot for an injury, a potential injury.
Yeah.
You know? And
we've not seen in the last 2 weeks what we saw in week 1, which is the scramble backwards 20 yards and sometimes throw it, sometimes take a loss. So that's a positive. So we're moving in the right direction, I think. That's the message. We're moving in the right direction. And we'll have to see how it shakes out. By the way, while you were talking about Brady, I remembered a factoid I saw, which is that in the years since Tom Brady has been active in the league, Tom Brady has won more games in Buffalo than any quarterback from Buffalo has won in Buffalo, which is a startling statistic to try and embrace. Just because they go there twice a week or twice a year.
At least you're not a Bills fan. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it could be worse. You could be a Bills fan. So, anyway, so I think that is all the time we have for Sports Ball this week. We have a lot to get to on the main list.
Yeah. So last week we talked a little bit about this burgeoning impeachment scandal.
Well, no. What we said was, Nancy Pelosi, you need to do your job or you need to quit. Yeah. Now, you may remember that we have a bit of a history with that. We told Stephanie Rawlings-Blake she needed to do her job or quit, and she quit. We told Catherine Pugh you need to do your job or quit.
SRB was eventually, though.
Eventually, yes.
She drug her feet on that.
And Catherine Pugh, and she quit as well. And we said, Nancy Pelosi last week, you need to do your job or quit. And you know what, Corey? I'm getting a little sick of having to be the last vanguard of the Republic and push these people to do the job for which they're elected.
Yeah.
But here we are once again, finally, the House of Representatives takes action nearly single-handedly because of our words on the podcast last
Yeah, well, I imagine that sometimes something big happens in the news, and I want to hear a particular person's insight on it.
Yeah.
Like a big football week. I want to hear what Bill and Sal have to say when they guess the lines on the Bill Simmons podcast.
Sure,
You know, like or big political news happens. I have a couple shows that I like to get the opinions of. I feel like Nancy Pelosi probably does the same thing with our show.
Yeah, clearly.
And she was just like, I don't know what to do about this whole Trump impeachment thing.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like, to a layman, the evidence is overwhelming, but perhaps I'll listen to the O The Anthem guys first and see what...
See, now, I take the
Corey
opposite.
and Rob will set me straight.
I take the opposite tact. I think she thinks she's too good for the show. But I think Dick Durbin and maybe some Senate Democrats do listen. And they were like, you know what? These guys, they're right about this. She needs to do her job or quit. And then they were like, we're going to call you out. And John Lewis, who obviously we are a fan of, we've sung his praises many times. He must listen because he was just like, you know what? I'm stepping out of the shadow. If these guys are going to call it, I got to call it.
I should look through like Twitter mentions and stuff like that and see if there's any like clues that there might be like a secret account.
Oh,
like,
that they're watching?
Yeah. Like definitely not Nancy Pelosi tweets us.
Yes, yeah.
It's like, you bring up some very interesting points.
I really like to address this.
I will consider this. And my job as, oh, God,
Not
what's
speaker.
a regular person job? Teacher. They're heroes, you know.
Yes, absolutely.
Hashtag
Heroes.
teachers are heroes.
Yes. Which gets...
Thank you. Definitely not Nancy Pelosi.
Definitely not Nancy Pelosi. But, yeah, so impeachment has taken over the news. And, we were... Can you give us a summary of the top stories out of the impeachment framework this week?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Number one, just a fun fact about hiring potential lawyers. If you ever are in the position of hiring a lawyer, definitely don't hire one who is going to talk about your case and all the things that nobody knows about your case on national television.
Well, I think number one is don't hire Rudy Giuliani. Number two is
not a good idea.
Don't compare your lawyer to Rudy Giuliani. Is he similar? Don't hire him.
I mean, like, okay, so the thing that really is kind of mind-numbing to me at this point is the Trump faithful and the tact in which they're trying to take to explain why it could be a crime, but I don't know if it is a crime.
Listen,
I don't know.
Real crime here is what Joe Biden is doing with Chris Murphy in the Ukraine.
Thank God Lindsey Graham or one of the Trump acolytes had never at some point put some sort of line in the sand out publicly.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine. Like, I feel like a month ago, Lindsey Graham could have made a statement going like, well, as long as Trump doesn't call the president of another nation after threatening to hold back money due to them and specifically ask for some sort of political favor as a quid pro quo for the money that would be coming to him, then
I don't think he's broken any crime.
I feel like if he did that, then finally that would raise to the level of an impeachable offense.
Yeah.
And then a month later, it's just like, oh,
well,
holy shit. I mean,
we don't know for sure he did that. Transcript gets released. Okay, so it's clear that he did that, but did he mean to do that? That's the question.
Here's the wonderful part about the crime that Trump has been committed of.
Accused of.
Accused of.
Yes.
It's that if you take away its base levels, it's still a crime no matter what.
Yes.
Even if Trump is 100% certain that Biden was up to something in Ukraine and that his son was up to something in Ukraine, and we've all gotten this wrong, and the fact that the timeline doesn't make any sense is irrelevant to the point. They've definitely profited off of this, and he thinks that the Ukraine should look into it, and the whole holding money aside is just complete coincidence. Simply asking for it is a crime. Simply asking for it is not just a crime against, using your the benefits of being the president to benefit you politically, but it also benefits you monetarily because it would hurt Joe Biden, who would potentially be one of the people you would face off against an election.
Yeah.
And there's the part that maybe Trump is like, Biden has the best chance of beating me, so let's eliminate Biden. Democrats will pick Elizabeth Warren, and then I'll sail to a victory because nobody likes Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
I can foresee the logic behind that, but that doesn't change the fact that that's a crime. I mean, like, it's like...
And here's the thing, though. There's a way to do
like
this.
if I was a Republican and I murdered a Democrat, like, the fact that I'm a Republican and I murdered a Democrat is kind of irrelevant to the fact that I committed murder.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the crime stands on its own. It doesn't need to have any kind of political...
The thing is, though, he's so dumb because there is a way to do this without committing a crime. As long as you don't connect the money to the request, you're fine.
Yeah.
And don't make the request specific. Like, hey, you know what? That 25 that we've got locked up and we should be giving you, we're going to work on that. I'd really like to get you that money. Side note, completely unconnected. I hear that perhaps some people in our government may have been involved in something in your country. You should maybe investigate that. I think that would be a good thing to do in the spirit of coming together as leaders. Great. No crime committed. One leader asking another to investigate an internal issue that might impact the other leader. Totally fine. Not withholding the money as a condition of that investigation. Totally fine.
If Trump had potentially just been on the phone call with Zelensky and said, by the way, nobody can seem to fill me in on the exact details over here.
Yeah.
But there was something that was going on with you and Obama at the end of his last term, or, you know, like between Ukraine and Obama at the end of his last term. And I just want to make sure everything's covered the way it should be.
Yep.
Maybe your State Department talks to our State Department and we work out the details.
Absolutely.
Like that would have been an easy way to sort of get information. And
yeah, but then you get off the phone where there's 50 people on the call, and you go to your guy at the State Department and be like, I want him to go after Biden.
Here is so the other problem is just compounding problems. Like there at any number of points, a reasonable lawyer could have guided you through how to have a conversation without putting yourself in the jackpot.
Or you know what?
But
stood in the room with cue cards like. This is what you should say.
Yeah.
Just read the card. You've been on TV before, sir. Just read the cards.
I mean, like, credit even to Michael Cohen, who, like, when they released those tapes of him and Trump talking together, it's just like, what do we give him cash in a plastic bag? And Cohen's just like, no. It's like, no, I don't think you understand how this works.
And like, literally, but if he was in charge of a criminal enterprise anywhere that wasn't protected by the office of the president, he would be in jail already. Yeah. Like the way that he thinks that criminal enterprises are run, he's like, you know what? I've seen The Godfather. I've seen Goodfellas. I feel like we could get this done. No, you have no idea what you're doing.
You are Fredo.
Oh my God. Anyway, and it may lead to his impeachment. Because
so hold on real quick.
Go ahead.
Just because I was talking about compounding problems. So Rudy Giuliani goes on television, shows his phone on like TV, and it has text between him and somebody at the State Department. And the fact that Rudy Giuliani was like taking or was like working on behalf of the State Department might be an additional crime.
Yes. Yeah.
Which he's basically admitted to on television. Releasing the transcript didn't help. Even if you're making the lawyerly thing of like, this isn't a direct word for word transcript.
Yeah.
It's based off of notes of people in the room who just happen to take exceptional notes because
their job is to take notes.
They have to be able to express like pretty much exactly what a leader said on the phone call with the president. But, you know, that's either here or there. I guess if you wanted to take it to court and fight whether or not this is a word for word transcript of what Trump said, then, go for it. But it did include the phrase, do me a favor. Which is not something that people usually freelance on. Like, that's something you would remember somebody saying kind of thing.
If you had a good lawyer, they would do things like, hey, how did the translator translate the phrase, do me a favor, to the Ukrainian?
Yeah.
Because maybe there's not an exact translation into Ukrainian.
That depends on what your definition of that is.
Yes, yeah. It's like, well, what he did here was he used the wrong word for that and me and favor. And the problem with that is that what he essentially said to him was, I'm asking for something and expecting nothing in return. That's what the word is.
Yeah.
Okay, great. But you know where we're going to find out whether what language was translated and used?
In the hearings that the Democrats are going to have.
In the impeachment hearings. Yeah. So that's coming up now.
By the way, another fun one, just for the Trump people, just real quick. One last one. I swear I'm just not going to Monday morning quarterback all their horrible decisions here. But apparently, the people who were involved with that call immediately after it happened, and this is, I think, according to the Washington Post released this one, they put it in a secret server away from the rest of the calls or away from the rest of the information. And
as if they knew something was bad about that call?
as if something might come up with it. And now there's a lot of discussions of like, well, what else is on this server?
Yeah.
Which will get subpoenaed, and we'll find out eventually. So.
Unless it gets accidentally deleted in the meantime. Yeah. Which, by the way.
And another thing, just to bring it up to the point of the hearings that will happen. Say you bring in Rudy Giuliani for a panel there.
Yeah.
And he doesn't show up. That adds another charge to the impeachment documents.
Contempt of Congress.
Yeah, all these people have to come up, answer questions truthfully, or go to jail. And if they don't do it, then it's another strike against Trump for impeachment.
So let's remind everyone, this started because a government agency, which is required to turn over to Congress a whistleblower request, did not do so.
Right.
So
the DOJ did not do that.
Alternate history right now.
Yeah.
The DOJ grabs a bunch of whistleblower complaints because, by the way, there are hundreds of requests to be protected as a whistleblower that are submitted every year.
Yeah.
Probably thousands every year. And it's mostly people who are self-important, who are in their department. They think, oh my God, I know all the secrets and I need to blow
my
the lid
director
on
doesn't
this.
know anything.
Yeah. And then they make the submission and the person who reviews it is just like, you know what? There's nothing here.
Yeah.
This guy has no idea what's happening at
what
two
do I
code
care if
clearances
Jeffrey
above him.
cooks tuna fish in the microwave?
Yeah. Well, I mean, even more important than that, it's somebody who has like level 2 security clearance who doesn't know that this guy is operating under level 5 security clearance and he knows things that you don't know.
Yeah.
And so when it looks like he's ignoring policy, he's ignoring the public policy. He's not ignoring the private policy, which is really what he has to follow. But if you group just a bunch of those together and then not first
like a flood the zone.
Dump them into Congress, then no one on those committees is going to review it. It's going to be some guy in their office who reviews it, probably an intern. If they don't find it, you roll the dice they don't find it. Okay, let's say they do find it. Great. Now you roll the dice of them sending it back to the DOJ and saying, what's the status of this? Have we given him whistleblower protection? Let's give him whistleblower protection. Perfect. Great. That means he gets to come in and tell the DOJ, who's clearly an independent body.
Yeah, certainly not an arm of the executive branch.
No. To tell him his story, there will be a report published based on that conversation.
Yeah.
Which will be sent to Congress. No one from Congress will be there. No one will really know what's said in the room. They will only know the results of that report, which is classified. Eyes only for Congress.
Yeah.
And if you are someone in the speaker's office and you get a boring ass report about a phone call where Trump says some inappropriate things but not illegal things, do you push it any further?
Right. Especially in the fact that this call happened the day after the Mueller testimony.
Yeah.
So there was kind of a feeling within the Democrats, I feel like at that point, where they tried to take a shot with Mueller and it didn't work. And now do you really want to like this thing that seems like maybe it was nothing is on your desk and like an intern season, it just gets passed along because they don't know what's better, and
then you're just like, all right, so we already took our shot, we missed.
Yeah.
Do we take another shot now, or does that make him untouchable in the future? Should we wait for something that's way better?
Yeah.
Now it turns out there's a lot to this, and it looks like it might be a big thing, but it didn't look like that from the surface. And I just keep going back to the fact that if the president had anyone with political background around him, they could make far better decisions.
Yeah.
This is something that a political operative, not an operative, but someone with political experience would be like, okay, great. Bury that. Send them 200 and let them find it. And if they find it, we'll give it to them. We'll do everything they ask, but we'll hide it in plain sight instead of just, no, we're not going to give it to you. Now I'm saying, wait, you give us hundreds a year. Why won't you give me this one?
I think that people think of lawyers in a binary response.
Oh, yeah.
I hire a lawyer, and depending on how much I pay for that lawyer, depends on how much I get off. Like, if I pay a $1,000 an hour lawyer, I'm definitely getting off from this crime no matter what, even if I did it.
Not true. Rudy has got a big bill for Trump. And
if I hire this $20 an hour lawyer, I'm definitely going to lose.
Yeah.
Probably will anyway, but I'm just saying,
listen,
But the idea being that people think that there's like a direct correlation from one thing to the other. They also think that a lawyer's job is strictly about the guilty or innocent at the end of it all.
Yeah.
Where a good lawyer is also trying to limit your liability or trying to keep other things from becoming part of the problem.
Yeah.
And this is where the Trump administration is in real trouble because they keep saying things and doing things in interviews and in front of cameras where they basically imply a new part, like the State Department is now in the middle of this.
Yeah.
The Justice Department is now in the middle of this. Rudy's now in the middle of this. There's conversations about whether or not Pompeo and Bill Barr might lose their jobs over this sort of thing, Now,
and let me tell you, I know a lot about people. I'm pretty good at reading people. And Mike Pompeo is a snitch. If you get him on the stand, he will snitch on you so fast. All they got to do is wave immunity in front of him, and he'll be like, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to say up there? He will turn into Kashi 6ix9ine on the stand, blaming everybody for everything. Mike Pompeo will get on the stand and start talking about who is in the 9 Trey Bloods if you ask him the right questions. Just to keep his own ass out of jail.
I also somebody was deposed recently. I can't remember. It was in regards to the whistleblower.
Yeah.
But it was like a newly elected head of national intelligence or something. I can't remember exactly. I was on set, so I didn't catch all the news. But you could tell from his answers that there was this thing where he was trying to balance two different viewpoints here.
Yeah.
Where like he's like, Trump is my boss in a way, and he's going to come ask me about all the things I said on the stand.
Yeah.
So I have to keep that in mind when I answer. But if I also lie to Congress, I could go to jail.
Yeah.
So I have to so it'd be like if you were like in front of if you were on the stand in a court in a trial and someone's just like, Rob, do you think your girlfriend's fat? You're just like, I really don't want to answer this question under oath, I don't want to be the person who is like in the position of like, I have to answer truthfully because I could go to jail if I lie, but I also don't want this answer to come back when my girlfriend goes and says like, why did you,
having referred recently to documents released by the Department of Health, I will say that she falls into the range of a healthy BMI score.
Yeah. Well, you dry it. Yeah. You make it dry
that is a non-answer. It doesn't say what I think. It just says I've done some research and here is a nice medical answer.
It also doesn't make the other lawyer like putting his hands together going like, I got him on that perjury trap.
No. Nope. Not at all.
You ain't got me, sucker.
Listen, Trump, you need a lawyer. I know a guy.
I'm just like this whole thing is just unbelievable how fucking deep it goes with this nonsense.
Well, and again, so if you're just truthful at the beginning, they don't find out about the secret server. You could say, hey, it got deleted. Because if you go on the main server, it's not there.
Can't find it.
But now they know about the secret server, and it's like, well, what else did you stash on there because you were worried about it? And it blows wide open.
And it's like if this is played out the way that it should, then not only is the secret server not in the whole picture, but like they can't make a request for those documents.
Nope. Nope.
If they're not formally impeaching me, what are they going to do? Ask for them and then I just don't give them to them?
Yep.
Like,
Executive privilege.
yeah.
Strong
That's
history of
classified.
that.
I can't.
Yep.
I can't possibly give it to you guys.
Yeah. But I will say that Trump aside, it has been a bad week in general for the conservative movement worldwide.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird because we have this thing where when one government becomes like ultra conservative, you get a movement of governments that way. We've talked in weeks past about, or months past, I guess, about Marie Le Pen doing really well in the French elections, although she didn't get elected. Boris Johnson taking over with the Conservative Party in the UK, which was a definite shift to the right, even though relative right, not really the far right for the UK. And Boris has his own set of issues now. It looks like he's about to be investigated for some shady dealings while he was mayor. Color me surprised. The guy who Trump really likes had some shady business dealings while mayor, or while in his previous position. Benjamin Netanyahu also under investigation, and he tried to pull himself a Trump, where he was like, you know what? We're going to have ourselves some elections. I'm going to get elected in a landslide, and everyone's going to forget all about this.
Yeah.
And then that didn't happen, and they failed to form a government, or it looks like they're going to fail to form a government, which means...
I wonder if that's why MBS is on 60 Minutes. He's just like, I see the wave coming.
Things are falling apart. I need to be a good guy.
I need to get ahead of this.
Yeah. How do we make me out to be a good guy now? How do you come back from murdering a journalist?
So what happened with Jamal Khashoggi? Real tragedy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell.
Listen, bad things happen all the time. I told them that the embassy was no place to have that very steep staircase that led down to the grinding room, and unfortunately, he made a right instead of a left. I kept telling him, restroom's on the left, Jamal. It's on the left.
Yeah,
but he made a right. He fell down the stairs into the grinder, and here we are.
Yeah. And if you don't eat your meat, then you can't have any pudding.
Yeah. So, you know. Anyway, so BB's in trouble. Boris is in trouble. Trump is definitely in trouble. MBS looks like he's going to try to avoid some trouble by being on American TV, but I have a feeling he's not as smart or as smooth as he thinks he is, and perhaps that will lead to his undoing as well.
He just has his iPad on his lap and it just
feeding
secret plans to bomb America on it, and it's just like,
she's just like, I noticed your
excuse me. Don't mind, I just happened to catch a glance, but what's on your iPad there?
So it doesn't. Things aren't looking good for right-wing strongmen around the world, which does look good for the world. So good for us. We are moving in the right direction. We have some more stuff here. Just quickly on the election, we're 123 days from Iowa. I think this week one of the big stories was it seems as though a tidal shift has happened and Elizabeth Warren has moved into the front runner position.
Yeah.
She has outraised Biden, or it's estimated that she's outraised Biden in this quarter. She's stronger in the opening states, the opening primary states than Biden is. But we're still 123 days away from Iowa. So we are 120 days from finding out anything that anyone has to say about this election. And that means it's a problem because everyone's in if no one's out.
Yeah.
You can't start kicking people out. Well, the voters can't start kicking people out. So everybody gets to stay in, at least for now. But, maybe Zelensky will find something and we'll get rid of two birds with one stone.
I'm kind of worried about Elizabeth Warren being the front runner.
I am as well.
And not because I dislike Elizabeth Warren. I actually enjoy her a lot. I think that of anyone who's running for president, she is one of the smarter people I've seen try and do it before. And she says things that make a lot of sense. And they make a lot of sense in the way that harm has been done, and now we're looking for some sort of restitution for it. I know restitution sort of carries the slavery restitution aspect of it, but I'm saying like there's sort of this feeling of like all these people who applied for college because they said it was so important to go to college, and all these loan companies are terrible, and all these schools are charging outrageous sums for things that help pay for a football stadium that doesn't impact the students who go there, like while they're there.
Yeah.
Like all these things are compounding on the fact that there are millions of people who have trouble making a life for themselves because they're, consumed by student loan debt. Like that makes sense to me. Like how
What's
she's
that
trying-
like? No idea.
Yeah. The like healthcare has been profiting off of other people's sickness for a long time. We have to swing the pendulum in the other direction. Like, there's a lot of like course correction that she's talking about, which I think are good ideas and good ways of portraying them.
Yeah.
The singular problem with Elizabeth Warren is that she sort of started off as a punching bag for the right, and she hasn't, up until her recent time in the spotlight, been able to fight against that in any kind of real way.
Yeah.
And that's the problem I feel like she's ultimately going to run up into, is the fact that probably not exactly like Hillary, but sort of in a similar vein to Hillary, there's a lot of people on the right and the middle who have sort of already made up their mind on her without even hearing her talk.
Yeah.
And sometimes those preconceived notions kind of hurt your ability to ever fight against it, because you're just like, well, Hillary's crooked and anything she's saying is a lie. So like,
I think the good news is the Hillary feelings were very deep seated from 30 years of people feeling that way.
and
so
Hillary,
she has a chance.
Hillary fought back a lot too, which I
Yeah.
don't think helped her. I mean, like, it's hard to say. You're looking back on it, trying to Monday morning quarterback a situation, you never really had a chance of understanding how it could have varianted at any given point in time.
Yeah.
But she made enemies too, because whenever somebody tried to pick a fight with her, she fought back.
Yeah. Yeah. Which makes you look like a bitch. Even if a guy did it, he wouldn't be found that way.
No.
So let's lightning round the last couple topics we have here. I do want to mention the Amber Geiger trial, which Corey didn't remember. And a lot of you probably don't remember. A guy named Botham Jean was shot in Dallas last year. He was shot by his ex-girlfriend, cop, under somewhat mysterious circumstances. And I just looked up the name because I couldn't remember it, and that's short attention span. But this trial is reminding me of the Jodi Arias trial, where like now that Amber Geiger's on the stand and will be on the stand, beginning of this week, at the end of last week and the beginning of this week, I feel like that there is potential for a huge thing of like, oh yeah, it turns out she called him on her other second secret cell phone that nobody knew about until the prosecution brought it out right now.
Yeah.
And invited him upstairs, and then 2 minutes later he was dead. But it also could just be like, oh, it's another cop who gets off. So I want to stay everyone to think about that and like look into it, because I think it's going to be something that pops up. We'll have to talk about it a little more next week.
Okay.
But off of political stuff, onto entertainment news, because mommy and daddy have finally decided to get back together and all the kids are happy.
Yay!
Yes. So after much chagrin, Marvel, Disney, and Sony have agreed to let Spider-Man come back and play in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And to let Kevin Feige go play over at Sony for a little while.
Yes, indeed, which is all good for Sony and good for the MCU, basically. I don't think there's any bad there. And good for Kevin, because, I mean, like, you get to step out a little bit and just be like, hey, most of these are standalones. They're not going to be in the MCU, so go have fun doing this, and you don't have to think about what happens 25 years from now when Series 8 is ready to come out and play.
Yeah.
Which is what he's been doing for the last 15 years. But they reached an agreement, and I say to let him back in, but the reality is nothing has been shot and nothing has been planned without him in the MCU.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, he's not going to do it anymore, and now he's back in. So, still in, I guess, really?
Yeah, I mean, this I feel like is good for Sony in the end. I feel like essentially what the deal was 25% of profits will be going to Marvel/Disney in exchange for letting him be a part of the cinematic universe.
Yeah.
And, having Feige and stuff like that.
Seems like a big cut for one character, though.
See, but I think that what Sony probably realized at the end was without the connections to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the gross on the next Spider-Man movie might be 25% less than what they expected. Just because of that. And maybe it's just like we have a better chance of making more money even if we're giving up 25% by doing it this way than if we did it the other way.
Yeah. P.S. Marvel really overplayed that hand of putting the Tom Holland Spider-Man in a position of becoming Tony Stark-ish.
Yeah.
Because then you really need to keep Spider-Man in the MCU the way that it's kind of like played itself out to this point.
And I mean, like, there's a lot of things we don't know about the exact deal.
Yeah.
What I would imagine if I were the lawyers for Sony, the thing I would be fighting for in exchange for the 20, I would haggle on the number.
Right.
But what would get me to go up to 25% from 15% is not making it so I don't have to make a Spider-Man movie every 5 years to be able to keep the rights for it,
But that really what they really want is the rights back.
Yeah, I know.
So it's one of those things. It's like, listen.
I mean, I'm saying like they could have protected themselves a little bit better by getting something like that included in the deal. Maybe that was just a deal breaker from the go. But I would if I were Sony, I would have looked for some sort of protections of the copyright, I guess.
I mean, in the end, though, if he's going to be a big character,
or the usage rights,
if he's going to be a big character in the MCU, there's going to be a movie more often than every 5 years.
Yeah,
it's just going to every 3 years. It'll be just like the Iron Man movies. It'll just drop in every so often. He'll need his own standalone movie, and that's how it plays out in the MCU scheduling. It'll just be done by Sony. And maybe this is the first step to get some of. They have somebody else too. They have some other people as well.
Deadpool?
No, Deadpool's Fox. He's back.
Oh, is it? I thought it was
no. X-Men's Fox. He's back.
Anything related to the Spider-Man universe, though,
yes,
right?
But Deadpool was in the X-Men universe. He crossed over to the Spider-Man universe.
Fantastic they had Four, Venom. They had Venom on Sony.
They do have Venom, which, God, let's get him in the MCU. Please. Tom Hardy's Venom, please, in the MCU. Fantastic Four. They have Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. So that means no Fantastic Four in the MCU now. Or maybe they just didn't have that discussion yet. But X-Men are back. Deadpool's back. That entire side universe of characters is back. And now we just have one character outstanding. I mean, honestly, I wish I could just save up a little money and time travel back and go see Stan Lee and be like, you know what? Don't sell this shit to Sony. Here's the $50,000.
Yeah.
It's going to cost you millions down the road.
Here's a loan from a friend.
Yes. And listen, I want you to write on this date in the future. I want you to open this package and remember this conversation, and I want you to write a check that you feel is appropriate, and I want you to send it to this young man who's about to go to law school and really doesn't want to have student loans. And here's his address at that date, and if you want to go visit him, I mean, he'll be fucking thrilled. And then just go give him that, and then all the characters stay in, and
maybe if for whatever reason they decide to give you cameos in movies or something like that, maybe throw in a little bit like when Chris Evans walks by, just be like, wow, you're handsome like Robert N. Cheek.
Well, just can you imagine
people on their Google machines like,
who's Robert N. Cheek? I don't know who this is. But
look at that handsome devil.
It's at the point now where it's so much time and energy expended because Stan Lee wanted to keep his comic going in 1991. That's just, it's so tragic. 1991.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just tragic that it reached that point that now we're worried about all of this stuff, and Disney cannot grow to be the megalith it is. And it's as far as Sony's concerned, I think Disney's just biding time until they have the money to buy Sony, and then they'll all be back into the one big thing. And
something tells me that federal regulators won't let them buy Sony.
No. Eventually, the MCU will have to be broken off.
I mean, until Disney buys the U.S. government.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the next step. It's like, well, if we can't buy it because you're going to shut us down, then we'll just buy the government.
How much debt you guys in? We're a little cash heavy right now. We're looking for investment opportunities.
I don't know if you know this, but we have some political pull in China, and they're talking about maybe collecting some money that you owe them.
Isn't it?
I'm just hearing rumors that I've heard from up top.
Yeah. I don't know if you're aware, we have our own currency that we run in the actual parks, and right now it's running $15 to the Mickey buck, and on the black market, people are starting to actually just use Mickey bucks. They're not even using dollars anymore. So we're in the position now where we could just bankrupt the entire government. It's Bob Iger. Bob Iger's the head of Disney, right? Like, I just feel like he's sitting in his chair, sitting across from the president in 10 years.
Bob Iger, who considered running for president this go around.
Yes, yeah. But he would have to get step down as chairman, and he didn't want. One of the reasons he didn't want to do that. But listen, it's also possible that Marvel becomes its own company again. Like, Disney collects all the rights, and then Marvel becomes its own company.
Well, it is its own company right now.
I mean, just not affiliated with, not part of Disney. Disney breaks it off so that they could say
sells, or I imagine it would just be like a Pixar thing.
Well, I do mean sell it to someone so they can say, like, hey, listen, so Marvel makes up 40% of all of the domestic box office for films, and I could see that us buying Sony would be a problem. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break Marvel off into a separate company with a separate board, nothing to do with us. Now you're going to let us buy Sony, and then we're going to sell those rights to this Marvel company for $1 that we get when we buy Sony and get them. Or again, they just buy the government, which is, or alternatively, guillotines. I feel like none of this is necessary.
I feel like that's the easier way to go at this point. Just buy the government.
Yeah, sure. I mean, listen, again, they do have a debt problem. I feel like it's
the United States of Disney.
Yes, we all are one under the mouse.
State of the Union, it's just like, everybody rise! The president's coming in!
Oh, man. All right, so before we step out of here, I do think we should take a quick trip down to the Baltimore corner.
Where you get the straight dope.
I hit it late.
I know.
God damn it. All right. Oh, well. So, yeah. Anyway, I only wanted to talk about this week because some interesting pictures came out of Baltimore this week. Corey, if I remember correctly, back when our esteemed governor was running for president, he talked about the victory of making the Inner Harbor swimmable and fishable by a year. Now, I might be wrong. Was it 30-20 that he was talking about?
No.
Was it 20-30?
Let me kind of correct you a little bit.
Okay. I'm sorry,
the mayor you're thinking about was SRB.
Oh,
we talked about on the podcast, and she was saying that it would be swimmable and fishable by 2020.
Let me ask you, what year is it now?
O'Malley had also said a similar thing when he was in office, but I think the year was 2016, which we've obviously blown past.
It's been a problem. Yeah, we hadn't hit that.
It's like that constant thing. You remember when John Kennedy said we're going to the moon?
By 69?
Yeah, and there was no reasonable chance we were going to the moon when he said that.
But it's a federal government, and they print their own money, so...
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll make it away. We'll by then, we'll be there.
Yeah.
I think this is the hope of all the mayors who make said proclamation.
This is not going to be my problem by the time this year arrives, so...
I will not be in office by then, so yeah, sure, you can swim in that shit. I don't care.
So... You were in Maryland recently.
Yeah.
We are 1 year away from that deadline. How are you feeling about the swimmable, fishable?
Not good. I'm always worried when I look at a body of water and I'm reminded of the La Brea tar pits.
Yes.
Which is kind of what the Inner Harbor looks like these days.
Yeah.
Obviously, nothing lives in it. Just dead fish.
Things do live in it, as we learned this week. Because Justin Fenton, who is really my close tie to Baltimore, that's how I stay up to date on everything happening in Baltimore, reported that he had seen someone throwing scooters into the Inner Harbor.
Yeah.
Because it's Baltimore. So, of course, they were throwing scooters into the Inner Harbor. And Lime or someone came and fished those scooters out this week. And this is what they got out of there.
Yeah.
So,
for the video version, you're seeing this, but for the audio version, just imagine a rock formation in the shape of a scooter. I guess is kind of what we're looking at.
And from the shot that you can see now, you might think, oh,
it looks like it was covered in lava.
Yes, yeah, or just very dirty. Maybe it's mud that's caked on, and you might think, oh, that's really mud. But if you take a closer look, you can see that this is actually like living things.
It's kind of becoming a reef.
Yeah, it's barnacles and stuff, of which I didn't realize were living in the Inner Harbor. But I don't want to swim in that water. This is 1 week.
Yeah.
This is 1 week in the water, and this thing looks like it's decomposing and becoming a coral reef.
I worry that whatever type of creature this is that has found itself onto these scooters is did it because the bird scooter like went in the water and it was just like, oh my god, something that might be food. Like finally.
Yes.
Finally. Like if I was like starving in a cell for a month and I haven't eaten, somebody like threw me in like a piece of bread like coated in mayonnaise, I'd be like, whatever, it's food.
Like, I'll get past the mayonnaise.
I'll do whatever I have to. I'm just gonna eat it.
Yeah. So
I haven't eaten in 40 days.
Swimmable, fishable.
Yeah.
Not really. Listen, as you just said, happily.
If I was mayor, I would be a horrible mayor, by the way.
Yeah.
But if I was mayor and I was just like having to announce something like this, and like reporters are just like, so you think that the harbor is going to be swimmable and fishable by 2020? I'd just be like, I mean, if you want to.
Yeah. See, again.
I mean, right now you can do it if you want to.
As you said before, any of you schmucks can jump in. There were a couple of citizens from Chicago who were in town who decided to go for a swim on a hot day. None of them survived.
We don't actually know that.
Yeah, the fact that there's some people who just Googled that means you know how dirty that water is. It was a question whether or not they survived. Anyway, but I'm not going to do it.
If it's so outrageous you don't believe it, then the joke doesn't work.
Yeah. No, it's believable. So anyway, don't. I mean, you can swim if you want. I'm not going to be swimming in the Inner Harbor anytime soon.
Speaking of the joke not working, OTheAnthem.com. Corey to OTheAnthem.com. Oh, the Anthem on. You all right there?
You got to give me more time. I got menus. There we go.
The Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595. And you can find more of me on my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, at LegendCB5 on Twitter and Instagram. Have not been able to go see a movie because I've been too busy making a movie.
Wah, wah.
But I would love to go see a movie. I mean, maybe I can rally some troops to go see something tonight, and record something by Thursday and have it out for you fine people. But that's all subject to change. So
we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah. Because you're working the rest of the week too, right? So it'd be like an hour bust?
I think I have Thursday
Okay.
off. So I would be able to hypothetically record a review on Thursday, but I would need to see a movie at some point before.
Ah, yes. It's problematic. Well, you can find more of me at Robert and Cheek on all your social networks. Make sure you check out robertandcheek.com, where you can find links to my political blog, my YouTube channel with the Everyman movie reviews now live. Make sure you join me for the YouTube premiere of episode 1 this Thursday at 7 p.m. Subject to change if we decide to go to a movie at some point this week. I may move that around some, but generally episodes will be up on Thursdays. We won't do a premiere every week, but you can join me this week in the chat. Also, of course, I'll be on Facebook Live because I want you to see my face, so why not? And you can also find links on the website to the books, which are available on Amazon.
Buy Rob's books.
Thank you, sir. And I know I said I would have another book out by September. And I think I talked about this last week, but we are undergoing edits right now to make it. I had a couple of people read it. They all had really good suggestions, not on edits themselves, but on additional content to put in. And I said, hey, it's a second edition. Maybe I should put in some content if I really want to change things around. So we're going to do that, and I'll be coming out. I'm also working on the book for December. So you're going to get a two-prong, just bam, bam here in the last few months of the year. So make sure you're looking for that. And, of course, if you want all of the videos first and access to the books first and all sorts of stuff first and, updates on everything that's going on, go to patreon.com/Robert and Cheek, and you get access to all that stuff. patreon.com/Robert and Cheek.
Well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the O The Anthem podcast, part of the O The Anthem digital network. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
We didn't commit any crimes this week, right? On this podcast?
I mean, on the podcast?
Yeah.
I mean, we violated morals.
Yeah. Well,
And like my moral compass is askew. But
I just want to make sure I didn't commit any crime because, like, if I show my cell phone, I don't want this coming back on me for like some sort of nonsense.
well, I mean, not a crime specifically, but I think your girlfriend would be interested in the text message that's on the screen
Oh,
there.
son of a bitch.